Start the clock.
Good afternoon. At the tone, time will be
Real time.
Oh, Canada.
Don't got a lot of igloos, only got snow when the wintertime comes and the cold wind blows. Got the Rocky Mountains and grassy fields. Don't spend much time clubbing them seals. Got moose and geese and caribou, the northern pike and the black fly too. Tidal bore, Niagara Falls, and the province of Quebec got us all by the balls.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada indeed. Only in Canada. That's how it seems anyways. So what are we going to talk about in today's rant? I thought maybe I would just go over a few things that, well, just need going over. How about this? There was a story in the news not too long ago. You may have heard about it. It's about a couple who called 911 in a panic because their young daughter was having a febrile seizure on the floor in front of them. The couple lives in Montreal, and when the ambulance attendant got there seems to have been a language issue. Here's what happened.
Her eyes were closed. She was unconscious. She wasn't responding to anything that they were doing.
At the same time, one of the paramedics started asking her father questions in French. Marc Bergeron is bilingual, but he was nervous he wouldn't understand technical terms, so he asked the paramedic to speak English.
With a lot of hostility in his voice, he basically said to me, "Non, moi je parle français." Meaning that I had to address him in the language that he was comfortable with in this situation, which, in my opinion, is absolutely unacceptable.
Bergeron says he was told by the ambulance service that there is no law in Quebec that requires paramedics to speak both languages.
Talking about, get them to learn Mandarin, to satisfy a small percentage of the population. We're talking about the two official languages of our country.
They said they couldn't understand why language was an issue during what they described as a life-and-death situation.
Now, contrast this with how Jean-François Lisée, the supposed liaison between the English and the French in Quebec, paid lip service to the needs of the Anglophones in his response about how this kind of thing shouldn't be happening.
My question to you is, what measures can be taken with regard to health care when, for example, they're facing a health crisis, they're frightened and revert through fear to their first language and ask for someone to explain to them what's happening? And these are real situations that have been brought to me many times, and they're told, ici on est en Québec. If you want English, move to Ontario.
Say plainly, if this situation occurs, immediately lodge a complaint. Immediately, because it is unacceptable.
The outcry you hear in the background from the audience speaks volumes here as well. The reason people were chattering is because in Quebec, an Anglophone complaining about language issues is more often met with disdain and more ridicule rather than sincere concern, and everyone knows this from direct experience over many years.
The right of Anglo-Quebecers to have health services in English is absolute.
There is no law in Quebec that requires paramedics to speak both languages.
This is not something to be tried to be negotiated. It is certain.
In terms of lodging complaints, we were advised by different C3S to encourage our seniors to lodge complaints. I just want to, when I asked for proposed measures, it's because people are too fearful to make those complaints for fear of punishment.
Well, they should not. I think the doctors or nurses who react the way you just said should be fearful of punishment.
It's all just doublespeak. The French Charter prohibits exactly what Mr. Lisée is saying to begin with. The French Charter says these employees cannot be punished. Section 45. An employer is prohibited from dismissing, laying off, demoting, or transferring a member of his staff for the sole reason that he is exclusively French-speaking, or that he has insufficient knowledge of a particular language other than French. And Section 46 says an employer is prohibited from making the obtaining of an employment or office dependent upon the knowledge or specific level of knowledge of a language other than the official language, which of course is French. And how about the English bashing that has been going on forever in Quebec, but seems more fervent lately, like what happened to this woman and her son while unloading the car in her own Montreal neighborhood.
Sasha Elikis was dropping off her mom on Monkland Avenue last Thursday night when her son suddenly started screaming in the back seat.
And I just felt these really large bangs on my car. I ran in the back and he was covered in egg. He could barely open his eyes.
And it's what the people said after they threw the eggs that she finds most disturbing.
And this one person screamed out a profanity and said, "Bleep, English person."
Or there's this fella. He has a severe, even deadly allergy to tomatoes and was attacked by a woman who literally threw a tomato sandwich in his face.
After I went for my CT scan at the Jewish General Hospital here in Montreal, I went with my friend here, Robert, to the cafeteria, which was the atrium, and I was noticing people in front of us. The cook was not changing her gloves, and I have severe allergies to tomatoes, especially they're deadly to me. And so when it came to my turn, I asked her in English very politely, "Do you mind changing your gloves?" And she gave me a very nasty look, and she would not speak English to me. I have nothing against it. Down and have a bagel and cream cheese. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this person comes up to us and starts screaming at us in French with colorful metaphors that here in Quebec we have to speak French. And we're at an English hospital. Ici au Québec, on parle français, pas anglais. Okay, c'est Québec, c'est français seulement, c'est pas anglais. I told her right away with colorful metaphor, I have a right in my country, my province, and my city. I have a right to choose what language I want. And she went away. The next thing you knew, I had a tomato sandwich come hit me right on the head here. It went all over the floor. Within 2-3 minutes, I was going into a reaction.
Apparently, this gentleman says he can die from the reaction to tomatoes, so this attack, as silly as it may seem on the surface, could well have been deadly. These kinds of anti-English episodes happen on a daily basis in Quebec. And I haven't even gone into the real thorn in a lot of people's side, which is the militant STM workers. That's the public transit system in Quebec, and how consistently they ignore people or treat the riders of the public transit system like they're scum because they are English speaking.
Ask an Anglo about language tensions on public transit, and you might hear something like this.
I'll be lost and ask a question, they won't answer me. They refuse to answer me in English.
On the bus, an older lady got on, and the driver wouldn't answer her. He said he only speaks French.
Montreal man is furious after allegedly being refused service by 2 STM workers because he spoke English. What's more, when Michael Dunning tried to file a formal complaint, he says another STM worker told him he had to speak French.
Michael Dunning doesn't normally like to air his dirty laundry in public, but after what happened to him when he tried to take public transit earlier this week, the Catholic minister feels obliged to share his story.
The guys in perfect English said, "We don't serve English people." Then he started cursing, saying all kinds of things in French.
Dunning tried to buy a day pass at the Atwater Metro on Monday and says 2 STM employees outright refused to serve him. But what upsets him the most is what happened when he called to complain.
I called the complaint department to file a complaint, and I got the same response. I said, "We don't have to serve English people, and we're not taking your complaint," and they hung up.
The STM is submitted to Charte de la langue française, so we don't require from our employees that they be bilingual.
These 2 individuals definitely should be severely reprimanded. I mean, I don't really want them to lose their jobs.
But this 55-year-old minister needs not to worry, because even if the investigation shows employees refuse to serve him, and even if they used the Lord's name in vain, they'll likely walk away with a warning.
So there you have it. Protection from the government itself, a government that promotes and enables, through the use of this legislation, a group of people to treat their fellow Canadians like dirt. Protected by the Charter of the French language, one of the world's most bigoted and ethnocentric pieces of legislation ever allowed to be enacted in a civilized nation.
Oh, Canada, this land so wide and free. I'm red and wide awake, see you waving while I'm standing on God's belief.
Well, that's it for now, so be sure to subscribe, click the thumbs up button, or leave a comment. Thanks for watching.